mostly do research in the past for a German pharmaceutical company for like 17 years in T-cell biology. And then I moved into finance, mostly now investing in SMEs in Thailand.
Great, thanks. And it spoke a lot already, but Pete Davis with Vision. Maybe just to share a little bit, something different is I've been in cardiovascular devices, I've done annuloplasty devices, heart repair, I've done a couple spine companies, neuro companies, lung sealants, so kind of almost anything from the waist up. I've got contacts and history, so, you know, if, as Jamin has alluded, we're trying to build more of a connection across the ocean. And so even if you're interested in something else, you know, feel free to reach out and say, do you know anybody? I'm happy to help where I can.
Hey, thank you very much. So now we are having a panel discussion, and you know, actually the theme, you can see the 4 different topics, right? So we have this is still going to be focused on medical innovation, but basically we'll start with the discovery side, like how are we doing discovery, and I think some of you guys who have been in a science or research background would be good to share some insights there. And then of course the second one is a commercialization, like somebody like Pete, right? How to navigate reimbursement, how to navigate physicians, and how to expand markets, right? So these are some of the things I think I'll have Pete maybe give some insights. And third one is like why Thailand, right? I mean we're foreigners, right? And we're coming now here to Thailand to discuss this. So we are seeing Thailand as like a potential hub, potential for regional hub, right? So like what kind of things can we leverage to really make Thailand as a competitive environment for bringing medical innovation. And that one I'll have Dr. Naresh share his insights. And of course, the last one is a cross-border collaboration. And of course, this will be like, I mean, this actually, I made the table like this because I wanted everybody to engage, not one person or 2 person talking. So I think during each section, people can just kind of share their thoughts. But the last one will be cross-border collaboration. How can we build a more effective partnership between different companies and also investors and of course even individuals, right? So I think that's something that we can discuss. So today I just have this. The mic seems to have some issues. So I'll put this here actually. And if you guys want to speak, then please feel free to just reach out and just speak here. I'll put it here as well, so maybe you guys can use this. So yeah. So I want to maybe have 3 speakers. So Pete Davis, of course, Dr. Naresh, and of course Dr. Shi. So I think I'll start with the first topic. So how can we go from lab research to clinical practice to commercial? Do you want to share some thoughts? You can use this. Yeah.
So going from lab research to clinical practice?
Yes. You worked as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, so background, in my PhD work, we were, I guess, catching snakes and different venomous creatures, and the whole idea was to isolate bioactive molecules, peptides, from these venom to further develop as a therapeutic drug, right? Sounds simple enough, like you get the molecules and, bring it through the process, but it's actually not simple at all. I mean, and it's a lot of people from outside of the field or even in science, they think, oh, it's all about money, right? How much money you put in, but it's actually partly about how much money there is, but even if you give a bunch of scientists some money, nothing's gonna happen immediately, right? There's a bunch of, like a whole ecosystem that's kind of needed along the way. And I think in many places, I think that ecosystem is not so apparent, not so mature, I guess. And anyone else want to have any thoughts on this?
You have some thoughts on this? Yeah.
Is this a microphone?
Yeah, it is.
Really? Okay. Let's say I have been working along this whole value chain of life sciences, starting from as a laboratory scientist. I was doing tissue engineering before this thing was called tissue engineering. So we were culturing cells in the scaffolds, trying to heal wounds. In my case, it starts with, and this was work done in Japan. It was the hybrid type of liver using polymers and real cells, hepatocytes, and then skin for wound healing. And then move along, I looked at the big picture of policy and supporting deep tech companies, work with regulators and market people. So what I realized, and this is maybe for Thailand, I can only speak for Thailand, is that if you look from the outside, you would see Thailand as a destination, right? Medical tourism, food, for example. So inside, we provide, let's say if Thailand is a restaurant, we would be a Michelin star restaurant. Excellent dish to guests. You had some last night, I believe. Okay. But if you look in the kitchen, the ingredients all come from outside, all the innovations, the cut ingredients, the sauce and everything. So I was looking back and I thought, what would happen if those flow of innovation stops? If we're using Pete Davis' device and somehow something happens, we can't use them anymore. If the provider, if the supplier stops supplying to us, if they raise the price, what would happen? So this leads me to really think hard about how about homegrown innovation. So I think that's basically what I've been doing during the past 20 years, and also Dr. Sirasak here too. So to answer the question, scientific discovery to impact is really a long way. And I can think of some parts where Thailand can work on. The early part, early in the value chain, would be about unleashing our research brains. We already have a lot of brain drains to the outside. How to make those research and innovation stick, at least within the environment of the home country of Thailand. So this is what I've been doing to prepare readiness for the ecosystem in Thailand. From lab moving to manufacturing, there's a big complexity of manufacturing, which if you look at the auto industry, we have a very good system of building up, manufacturing for auto. Why can't we do that for life sciences? CDMOs. I was CEO of a CDMO company called Therapeutics Bio. We were doing CAR T cells manufacturing, and very luckily, in the recent years, the government has been promoting ATMP, advanced therapy medicinal products. So things are improving a little bit, I guess. Regulatory, the Thai FDA has a maturity level of 3 out of 4, which means that we're doing not too bad.
Who decides that?
WHO. It's a kind of WHO ranking for the regulators in the world. So we're moving from 3 to 4. So that's not a very big problem. The problem would be more systematic. And I think what we can do to answer this question is to make clinical trials in Thailand really work out, like centralized IRB, institutional review board, or to set up that companies investing in Thailand selling drugs, for example, should do clinical trial phase 2, phase 3 before moving into the market. And for the market, I think we would have to think global first, like you do in the US, and your second half of presentation is really helpful. Do you also provide consultancy for companies?
I'm happy to work through Damon and offer assistance.
It looks like you do, huh? Okay.
It's just something I've been, I've been around long enough that whether it's me or an introduction I can provide, I like to think of it as just bettering healthcare in general. So if you need assistance, I'm
should
happy
have
to
known you 15 years ago.
Should have known each other.
My first trip with T cells to US was to visit Advamet.
Okay.
They have a big annual meeting, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. I was there with BOI, Board of Investment people, and well, I learned a lot, but not as much as today when all the things that you talked about. So I wish that we could have this knowledge for aspiring Thai companies so that they can have a broader look into the market, including the US.
So I'd like to actually ask you a question based on moving more technology into Thailand, as an example. You mentioned doing clinical studies.
Right.
I'm not aware of other companies doing studies in Thailand. Is there a clinical research organization, the CROs that monitor the data? Is there enough infrastructure to support it, or are companies going to have to make more investment to bring that skill set into the country? Statisticians, things like that.
And that is exactly what we wish would happen in Thailand. How we are set up at the moment is that, let's say, pharma companies, they are not required, unlike China, they're not required to do clinical trials in Thailand. We wish they are, but part of the issue is with, as you pointed out, our system, and I mentioned IRB, CROs, that is one room for improvement that we realized during my term at T Cells, that we have to be more efficient, and with the medical schools in Thailand coming together, they started a new CRO that could become more internationally aspiring, to not to compete with all the existing CROs, but to respond to the issue you just mentioned, the data. Because with a fragmented data system, it's really inefficient. You want to be able to integrate all your data that you have done studies with different institutions, right? Which is not happening at the moment. But with I think the recent government policy, they are very serious about medical data integration. And I think the Ministry of Public Health, I heard many times that they're working with, they have a big project, what is it called? Medical data integration kind. We have the Big Data Institute in Thailand, and they're working with Ministry of Public Health, starting with the public hospitals, which we have over 13,000 public hospitals in Thailand. 13,000 public hospitals, more than 300 private hospitals in Thailand.
One thought, I don't know if you're familiar with Australia and medical devices there. I don't know the exact figures, but they have huge incentives for international companies to come in and do studies in Australia.
They do, yes.
Okay.
They do, right.
That might be something for you to think about modeling.
We took a
here.
close look at Australia, and they're so envy of them. But yes, you're right.
We go to Australia from the US now.
Even Thai companies go to Australia.
So it's more a question I have for Dr. Noret and other T cells group people. Actually, from what I understand, I've been away from Thailand for 20 years. I just moved back less than a year ago. I understand that for doing clinical trials in Thailand, whether for pharmaceutical development or medical device, there are local CROs like Cycrest and Clinicsr. So, but then what I don't fully understand is how effective these CROs are versus like international bigger CROs, right? Because I've seen like, some foreign companies, they need to come to Thailand to do trials because there's a higher patient prevalence for certain diseases. But then they don't use Cycrest. They still go to like the standard, big CROs from elsewhere. So can you comment on that?
Yes. Well, maybe I cannot answer for them. I think Cycrest is from Sirat Hospital, the biggest public university hospital, is their ambition. And Clinicsr is one of a recent invention of the brilliant minds of the medical leaders in Thailand to really do the clinical trials right. Whether or not they are up to the standards of international CROs, I believe that they're still on their own learning curve. Yeah, I haven't get in touch with them for some time now. So, like I said, I really can't answer for them, but both are quite recent efforts, and we're moving along.
So why would a company? Why would a company from the outside prefer like a foreign CRO versus like a local CRO? Then, is there any
foreign? You mean international?
Yes, because I've seen a number of companies. They would do clinical trials, phase 2 for certain diseases, or even phase 1 in Thailand. But they would not go through these local CROs. They would rather use like a foreign CRO with an office in Thailand.
Yes, of course, with the brand name, the past records, and everything. I'm not really sure in this, but I believe that these two at least, they are trying to show that their edge is in their proximity with the big hospitals like Sirat, Rama, Chula, and the site management organizations that they have. Whether they're successful or not might take some more time, but being close to the local environment, local policymakers, medical schools, I think they believe they would give them some edge, but time will prove.
I want to also ask the audience. We've kind of jumped topics a little bit, but I want to just get some feedback from some of you guys on what's your experience investing into medical technology companies from Thailand. What kind of challenges do you see? Yeah, if any of you guys have invested in a local innovation and have some challenges, or maybe you guys are local innovators and have your own challenges, you can please feel free to share.
Anybody in this room, maybe?
Anybody here? Okay. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Slightly different point, because I still don't have enough money to be investing in big things yet. But I've been in Singapore, right, for a while back then, and also in Boston. One of the things I noticed with like medical device or biopharma startups that are growing, even with especially in environments, there was a lot of government support or university academic support to spin off companies. Many of these startups, I've seen them in Thailand or Singapore, they forget about the market unmet need. They go with like what the government wants, like the trends. They forget to see like what's the pain point that their product can solve, and the technology can solve. And then they end up getting a huge grant from the government, getting money from this and that groups, and then doesn't fully, solve the direct problem. And then it ends up being an issue later down the line. So I've seen a couple of cases like that.
Yeah, building upon that, as an investor, I would say that commercialization is such a big issue. Sometimes we see good technology from Thailand, from university, for example, but then sometimes they have strong clinical evidence, but then doesn't really have anyone to do the commercial side of things. And I believe that business management is a completely different skill from research. So we have a big gap on that. And then from our experience, we have invested in both Thai companies and companies in the US. And in medical devices, I would say that hospital sales cycle is always long, no matter where you are. But then in Thailand, you're spending 6 months to get one hospital. But then in the US, the market size is much bigger, and once you get one hospital, you get referral to another hospital as well. But in Thailand, you spend the same amount of time, but then you have to go to each hospital one by one. And then sometimes private hospitals also compete with each other pretty heavily. And then sometimes you go to, I think it's very fragmented in Thailand. And then in Thailand, it's complicated in a way that not only in medical space, but then in other industry as well. If you work with this one company, it may limit your opportunity to work with another company. And then in Thailand, that's sometimes it's the case too, which makes the market even smaller. And then sometimes it's very niche. So when it becomes small, it's hard for investor to invest. And for me, if I have an amount of capital and I have to deploy, I want to make sure that my investors are happy. So if I have to choose between Thailand and US, sometimes it's really hard to justify unless it's something that's really unique. Or we start seeing a trend of Thai companies expanding to the US or the UK, which is something that we are pretty excited about. We have some Thai companies going into Singapore, and I want to see more of that, and whatever I can do to support, just really want to help the ecosystem.
Hey, thank you. Interesting point about getting into different hospitals and also challenges with, let's say you work with the one group, then it's hard to access another group. I'm going to have Pete give some insights on that with your hospital experience. And I'm actually going to ask Maarten. Maarten used to be with the Zulik Pharma. You worked there for a long time, so you also have you definitely have a lot of insights on how to commercialize in different countries in this region. So I'm going to give a mic to him afterwards. Yeah.
So I can relate exactly to what you're saying, but in the US, it's sometimes very similar, and that is every hospital has their own bioanalysis committee. Today, again, there's no incentive for them to approve new products necessarily because it means the hospital's spending money. And everywhere in the world, the economics drive everything right now. So every distributor, I mentioned the distributor model. Distributors in the US sometimes will represent a single hospital. Sometimes they'll represent a city. Sometimes they might be bigger and represent a state. So the country's big enough, though, it is, you referred to it as fragmented. I'll call it opportunistic, but it's complicated. And if you have to work with 7 or 8 major cities, you're going to have a different distributor in every city. And then that means you have inventory in every city. It means you have paperwork supporting every city, commissions being paid. It's a lot of effort, but there's no other way to do it. There's not a great single way to do it other than if you do it that way, you're going to have a small business. So I don't really have a whole lot to say other than there's not too many options for us as medical device startups or even the big companies. If you look at Globus Medical, which is a spine company, they are moving into brain surgery with robotics. They do $750 million a year sales, but they have 450 sales reps. 10,000 widgets a year, they can make 300,000 instead of having 10 people distribute the product, they have 450. I'll get approval in 3 to 8 countries maybe, just to demonstrate we can. But other bigger companies, the multinationals, that's what their strengths are, is the scale. So.
Yeah, also, I don't think I need the microphone. I'm not sure if it works even, but I guess a few things. One is, I've invested in quite a few industries, and I think actually the healthcare ecosystem is the hardest of all. And it's because the ecosystem is so complex. And you have to figure out how to basically reach the entire ecosystem. And I thought your slides about your commercialization strategy were actually very good. You could see all the various things. And the problem is, if you miss 1 or 2 of those, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
You have to cover them all. And that's really hard for innovating companies. They're small, they don't have the resources. And it's just, so number one, it is really complex. I think number 2, in this part of the world, it's very, very fragmented. I know in the US you've got different regions and you need your regional sales, marketing strategies, but here it's a factor 10 more complicated because these markets here are too small individually to really scale. So you need to be across the region, you need some kind of footprint. Every country is different, they have different regulatory standards, the KOLs work differently, the hospitals have different ways of making decisions, the way they reach the doctors is different. So you need a highly customized approach for all of these different markets, and that's just expensive.
Yeah.
And difficult to do. Now, so those are 2 not perhaps optimistic points, but the optimistic point, the third one is, at the end of the day, the sort of value that the types of products that you're talking about today and innovation in general can bring to healthcare is fantastic. And it's not just that it helps improve outcomes, which is important, but also from a value perspective, financial value perspective. I mean, these things have high margins. If you're successful, they help people, they help healthcare in general. So if you're able to do that and you have the enough time and money to go after it, actually the rewards can be really, really attractive, but it takes a lot of time. Yeah.
I wanted to add one more thing. How many people have worked with distributors directly in their lives?
Well, I ran one of them.
You did.
Yeah.
So as a startup, one of the things that we also deal with is distributors' focus. A distributor is not going to sell just Vision product. They're going to sell 9 companies of products. And so how do you make sure you keep their attention? Because if one of their devices gets hot and they can make, their whole goal is to make money. They don't really care, they have doctor relationships they want to protect. They don't care about Pete Davis. They care about Hubble makes them $1,000 for everyone they sell. That's all they care about. And if they have another product that they carry that they can make $2,000 on, guess who gets their attention first? The other company does. There's no way around it. And then as the markets get smaller, you get less skilled people in less of a market, and it's because the market's small. If you're in New York City and you're a successful sales rep, you're gonna make $1 million a year. It's just an opportunity because it's so busy. I can't even imagine what some of the public hospitals in Singapore and in China, if they were more capitalistic based, the money would be unbelievable. But as you move out into the periphery, the smaller hospitals, you're not going to get a good sales rep to work in the middle of farms, a hospital in this, not in a big city, because they can't make money. So you're going to go from a 35-year-old that works 65 hours a week making $1 million and knows every surgeon, knows their wives' names, knows their kids' names, gets invited to their baptisms or to the weddings, to the guy out in the community that works as much as there is surgery, which might only be 25 hours a week, and they might, for $1 million, they'd be lucky to make 50,000. People go where money is. And I mean, investors go where money is. So I hate to say it, but that doesn't matter how much you save, if it's not in the path of money, it usually isn't terribly successful.
Another thought, like on a product like yours, right? I mean, in most Asian countries, you have like a big public healthcare system and then a very small private, right? And it depends. In some countries, the private is bigger than others. But these kinds of products, I think, are very hard to sell to a public system because they are going to say, okay, we've got the microscope, we have a 10-year depreciation, we're not going to buy this new thing, which isn't even proven yet, right? So, but private hospitals are different because in Thailand, that might work a little bit different from Singapore, but in Singapore, for example, the surgeon basically rents space in a hospital, right? He doesn't work for the hospital. So if the surgeon says, I want to use that product, then the hospital will make sure it's there.
Yeah.
Because as a percent of total revenue to the hospital, that tool you sell is not that much.
Yeah.
Right? So, but that's hard to do in a public hospital because there you have different people that make the purchasing decision. And so I think that's one thing
That's why I need clinical data.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
They can't argue data. That's the one thing is.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Well, I think it's good to get some commercial insights from Maarten and also like a Pete. And of course, Dr. Naris touched a bit on you already covered some about how to position Thailand for this, right? I mean, we have a lot of countries, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam. Every country is kind of trying to do their own different things. And of course, like Singapore, like my business partner is actually used to work at the Temasek as the head of healthcare. And he's been pretty plugged in. When I first came to Singapore was 2009, 2001. And back then they already had Biopolis. Biopolis is like this huge, like the life science R&D facility, kind of like Thailand, the Med Park, the one that you mentioned, right? The Thailand Science Park. But Singapore has 4 of these, right? So they've been doing this for like last, I think 10-15 billion dollars over like last few decades. And now the ecosystem is saying, hey, I think we overspent. We think we overspent. We still do not have a biotech IPO. We still don't have any MedTech IPO. We had one called Mirexis, which was, I think, when IPO in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. But that one got delisted because of some financial, I guess, reporting issues. So the ecosystem is kind of like very, almost depressed. A lot of institutional funds, like the Temasek and also other like, like venture funds and others, they used to invest in life science. Now they're shifting away. So actually, a lot of the investors who invested in, we actually got one company of Pete's colleague, actually the same shareholder. We got some funding for that company actually from Singapore fund and Taiwan fund. But I mean, that was a lot of work because actually a lot of the Singapore funds started going away from life science. They wanted to focus more on revenue generating, traditional like hospitals or pharmacy chains and things like that. So I think just considering all that, I do like it. I've been here, I guess, many times, and this is my second event here. But I'm seeing some good signs about Thailand than let's say other countries like Philippines or like other countries. And Singapore, of course, also like it's kind of like it feels like it's not that exciting anymore. But here I see a lot of people who are interested in medical innovation. People are actively investing in medical innovation. I mean, we have a fund who's investing in I think your fund invests in U.S. companies yourself. So I think there's a lot of interest for that. So how can Thailand really, I think, differentiate? Looking at Singapore examples, looking at other Asian countries, what are your thoughts on how to position Thailand as a competitive, I guess, innovation hub for Southeast Asia? I'll start with you since it was actually your section. Yeah.
Good question. I don't think we want to try to outperform Singapore as a R&D hub or global business. But given the size, the market, the pain point of Thailand, I still think And I like what Maarten said earlier about we should really look at the pain point of the people, because a lot of we've been discussing so far about how to sell our products. But looking from the people's side, what do they really want? I think there's a lot of opportunities there still for Thailand. And for Thailand, I think what do people want doesn't limit to Thai people. Because as I said earlier, Thailand is a destination. If we do good enough, people will come. So that's why I'm starting to get a bit more serious about the whole, the diverse value chain of wellness and longevity, because that is where there are room for everyone there, and especially for Thailand. I think what we have done so far, policy-wise, is that how to get more talent, more people into Thailand. I think we have a particular visa system right now, where if you want to get, I think it's called medical visa. Is that correct?
To come for procedures?
To come to Thailand. You get 60 days and extendable to 90 days. At the moment, the government is really considering to do a 1 year medical visa, and well, this will need more effort to make the insurance system portable, so that your insurance coverage would apply in Thailand too. And this is something that I think we are thinking about right now. And I have one actually case of really solving the people's pain point. It's called Mission Leapfrog. I think I gave my card to some people here. It was about, the pain point was this. We have problem of cervical cancer, which is caused by virus, HPV, human papillomavirus. The traditional way is women have to go to hospitals and do, the doctor will examine and take the tissue to do PCR to look for the virus. So what we did, and this is a project that I did with my colleagues, was that the alternative is to use the swab like you do ATK for COVID. The pain point was that if we look at the statistics in Thailand, Bangkok is the lowest of screening. So our healthcare system provide reimbursement for women over 30, so that they can do the screening once every 5 years and repeat. Okay, they don't come. The women, they don't come. They don't want to come. They don't want to use this service. But so we started looking, what is their main point? Why don't they come? In Bangkok, because of the fragmented healthcare system, and people come here to work, even from the whole country. So they don't have time. They have to leave their work. Sometimes they lose their payment because it's on day by day. In the deep south, they're Muslim. So Muslim people have their really big social barrier from the family, even from the husband, that you should not do this kind of test. It's violating the Muslim tradition. So we overcame that by distributing, or you can say empower, women themselves using a new kind of product. Well, not very new, the swab test, the home test kit, which is still not really FDA. They don't treat that as a standard. But this is how we do little by little to prove and to change the whole system so that they accept this new practice. So it would take time and effort, but I think if you look at how people can help themselves, maybe the solution is not in the hospital. They don't need to come. Well, unlike your products, they do have to come to. Or do you provide portable? No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily have, our device is so simple, many institutions, we don't even hire reps. We just sell it directly and do in-servicing. And nowadays
But you still have to do the operation in the hospital.
they still have to do the operation in the hospital, correct? Some of our spine things have moved out into ambulatory surgery centers, they call them.
But I believe that,
But it's still a hospital.
instead of limiting to big hospitals,
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
product will make it feasible for
Absolutely.
small.
So a great example of my product is New York University. They have a Langone Hospital in downtown New York City is extremely established. They have lots of microscopes and surgeons and big practice. But they have a hospital in Brooklyn, one in Long Island. They don't have the fluorescing microscopes there. So they're excited because now they can keep their patients in those hospitals without actually having to transfer them.
So what I'm seeing is that we're moving from large hospital to same kind of service being done at smaller hospitals and eventually in the home. I think that's the way for the future.
Yeah, I think Thailand is a good position because we really have a thriving medical tourism business, and shifting to wellness and going home. I think maybe that's the kind of technologies maybe the Thai investors would also invest in.
Thailand is doing really empowering policies lately. Like it used to be medical doctors in the hospital that approved the use of some drugs, even like very small things like painkiller. Now, I think last year maybe, we passed a law so that pharmacists at local pharmacies can also give drugs to their patients if they're not really serious kind of diseases. So yeah, we were on this kind of journey.
A thought on the regional hub thing, right? Like, you think about medical tourism. So Thailand has done a great job in the last 10 years to kind of take share from basically mostly Singapore, where in Singapore now you still have the very high value, very complicated surgeries there, and more of the commodity type things are increasingly moving to Thailand, which is great. That's been a great success. And Singapore's not happy about it, I can tell you that. So, but one thing, right now you're positioned as kind of a lower cost, good, but maybe not the best player, but it's lower cost and that's very important for a lot of people. And as long as the surgery is not too complex, people are comfortable with that risk profile. But what you're not still known for is as like the innovator in certain specific, medical areas where you guys are not only lower cost, but also have the most innovative products. And maybe you could position yourself as that, right? So Singapore is by definition a very, very risk-averse society. They are not going to want to be the first to use a new innovation like yours. I don't think so. Unless the KOLs and the surgeons really drive that into the private hospitals.
Exactly.
Typically, Singaporeans are very risk averse. I think the Thai are much more, innovative spirit and want to try out things. So, and of course, trying out things in the medical world, you have to be very careful. But I think that Thailand would be a good market for to explore that. Get them to buy the world's best new innovative products and make that part of your brand. Thailand as a medical tourism hub is not only cheaper, it's also really innovative.
We have a couple things. Sorry, I know you have a question, but from a U.S. perspective, people want to go to Thailand. People are not as excited to go necessarily to Korea, but Korea is well known for endoscopic surgery. I mean, endoscope surgery, if you want to know where the best surgeons are and what they're known for, that's the place. If you want to go get cheap teeth replacements, dental procedures done, I mean, in the US, you go to Mexico. You can get a $3,000 tooth implant in the US, you can get it down there for $95. So there's certain tourism type of things to consider, but if you could figure out a way for clinical studies to be approved fast and easier in Thailand, you're going to attract the new technologies. Yes, some of the procedures could be considered experimental, but if the population is open to it, you will be the first to do it because lots of countries, Europe used to be very easy to get into. Now nobody wants to go there. They've added so many layers of work and cost. I have no interest in going to Europe, but I'm always looking for Where do we go? Where do people, US companies now, when they want to do their first-in-man studies, they go to the Republic of Georgia, they go to Colombia, South America. You know, those are like two of the first spots they look at. New Zealand is actually pretty early adopter as well, or test market. So,
Well, I mean, several points. I was just gonna say pretty much similar to what you said, but on that point, I know there was an investor in Singapore invested his personal money in a U.S.-based biotech therapeutic startup, right? They came to Thailand to do trial just on a couple of patients, a rare disease, right?
Yep.
But they haven't gotten any like IND approvals through the US FDA yet. They did a few patients in Thailand, used that data to raise a larger round of funding with US investors.
Right.
So I think there is some use case there. But on that point, going back to an earlier point, right? I might sound very controversial and annoying here, but it's going to be hard to make a innovation ecosystem in a place like Thailand. It's not that, you know, and it's not totally about the quality of the people itself. It's more about the whole ecosystem, right? When I was in Boston, there were many conversations from like, there were events run by, you know, the embassy of different countries. They would send representatives to Boston and they asked the question, can we make our country, like our innovation ecosystem, like Boston? And I always thought, is it even worth it to do that? Because by the time you take the effort you take to even do that, by the end of the road, do you even have an advantage to compete with a group like a place like Boston or now Shanghai, right? You know? Why not find an advantage that you have that others may not have? So going back, you know, for Thailand, it may be something like what patient group are more prevalent in Thailand, right? And it might be a case like doing an early stage clinical trial, right? Where you can, a foreign company can come in, do a small case trial, use that data to raise a larger round of funding for, you know, for other trials elsewhere. I might be totally wrong, but
The other side of it is that, no, you're right. I shouldn't say it that way. But now that the world is so connected, and I don't know, as you get outside of the big cities in Thailand, like I said, I'm done. First time in Bangkok, first time in Thailand. But if you have good internet service around the country, you don't necessarily have to have all the hubs and things. You can remote monitor people. You could go to being an early adopter of technology at the forefront of remote medicine, utilizing it to, I mean, the cost of doing studies in the United States is astronomical now. I used to, 20 years ago, for a cardiovascular device where you have to follow the patient, you know, through the from the admission through the discharge of the patient at the hospital, you'd have to have a 30-day follow-up, you'd have to have a 6-month follow-up, you need a 1-year follow-up, you need a 2-year follow-up, you have to pay for MRI scans, x-rays, all the testing, the company has to pay for all that. Back then, I used to budget $10,000 a patient for that follow-up period. Today, you're closer to $60,000 per patient. So again, if Thailand could if that data is translatable across populations and cultures and everything else, I mean, if the infrastructure is there to do collect good data, I mean, you absolutely can bring in early technology because of cost savings and lower economic cost at a given standard of care.
Well, just expand on that. I think earlier we were talking about market size, looking from investors' point of view, and Thailand seems small. Within ASEAN, we have ASEAN on the screen. within ASEAN, there is an ongoing effort to harmonize the regulators among Thailand, Malaysia, I don't know, Philippines included, Indonesia, Vietnam, and so on. I was chairing the Life Science Innovation Forum of APEC, so this is one of the big kind of thing that we were working on. Now, I think just last month or maybe in May, Thailand and Malaysia announced, and this as a first step, the harmonization of both Thai FDA and MTA, the Malaysian regulators, so that the products that are approved in Thailand doesn't have to go through external review in Malaysia and vice versa. So suddenly the market expands, and if we can do this with other countries in ASEAN together, especially Indonesia, I guess, it is going to be a really big market. That is one point. And another is that I have seen a moment of barrier breaking. The recent one is during COVID, because some technologies, it's not the problem of the technology itself. It's ready, but the acceptance of the people, the medical doctors, they're hesitating. Now, during COVID, what happened, and we all know this, people have no choice. So they use telemedicine, right? To consult with the patients, to follow up and everything. And they just use existing technology. And today, all the big hospitals and small, Bamrungrad, BDMS, they use telemedicine, like really normal thing. And I suspect that another barrier breaker is going to be demographic. Thailand has a different from Philippines. We have an aging population, and there are certain needs for aging populations that has to be met with and still unmet. So if the demand is strong enough, I think those regulatory barriers, market price, and all the things that we are discussing, it will change, and it will change quickly because Thailand and China is moving rapidly at the same speed towards a very super aging population. So.
Korea as well. Yeah.
Korea as well. Oh yes, yes.
Pretty much most countries in the region except Philippines. But I think a lot of innovation for manpower. I think we can achieve some. Okay. So I think we had I think we touched on several topics. Of course, like getting input from an entrepreneur, getting input from ex-civil servant, and people from different movements. I think we call it I think this would be good panel.
So we can eat the hamburger?
Yes, we can now try this is like a Hanaco, 0 calorie bread. So I'll let you guys try it. So yeah, so thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Yeah.